Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Marketing O'Clock, Off the Clock, where we interview somebody within the industry and talk about the journey that they've had in the digital marketing world. And it is my privilege to have with me today Akvile Defazio, who you've seen at Advertise and is recently the author of a new book, The Small Business Guide to Facebook Ads. Welcome, Akvile.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is my pleasure. Did I get that right? The Small Business Guide to Facebook Ads? Is that the new book you published?
That is correct. It is only an ebook at this time, though. So you can download it, but not a print, actual physical copy yet.
Well, you can get it on a Kindle, so it's a book in my book. How about that?
All right, that
works. All right. And what do you currently do now at Advertise? If we're in elevator pitch style, so not the full gamut, just we're in a short elevator going up 10 flights of stairs. That's the caveat we give.
Well, we are a social media advertising agency focusing on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and Instagram ads, anything else that comes down the funnel. And we work with a lot of e-commerce, mobile app, and event clients.
Are there any social networks that you don't cover after that?
We don't currently have any Snapchat customers, but we are looking to expand into that area in the new year.
Okay, well, Snapchat doesn't have any users, so that works out well. That's just a joke there. Okay, and then before we get into kind of the journey of where you are now, what is one job that you've had throughout your career, and it doesn't have to be a digital marketing job, that people might not know about?
I've had a lot of unique jobs, but probably one that most don't know about is that I was an auto parts specialist at Advanced Auto Parts back in Buffalo.
That is amazing. So what was one of the best things about that job?
I was really into cars growing up, and I used to autocross for a number of years, and working in that actual industry was a blast. It also had its challenges because, there are not too many females prominent in that industry, so I had some challenging customers, but I just love the fact that I got to help people with their cars, be a part of the process, and meet a lot of cool people in the community and just see what their projects turned out to be, and they would show up later with their completed cars and be like, hey, here's what I did, thanks for your help, and it was just really neat to see the whole process.
That is amazing. And for the layman like myself, what is autocross? I don't even know what that is.
Do you know what rallycross is?
No.
So when cars are driving like a little crazy through mountainous areas or on cliffs and, through dirt roads, this is kind of a more contained version on a closed course. So we went to like Batavia and did the go-kart course there. It's just basically racing against cars in your class. So same engine size, same different modifications. So it's kind of apples to apples. So you're not having like a Honda Civic versus a Porsche, but everybody did their time on the track, and you just you do your individual runs instead of, doing kind of simultaneous racing.
That is amazing. And thanks for sharing that. But let's go back to the first time or your first job that you had that kind of was your first foray into digital marketing in general. How'd you get into digital marketing?
Funny you ask. I feel like a lot of people in our industry just kind of fall into digital marketing jobs, especially around our age where we didn't have programs at university that offer different types of digital marketing courses. So I actually went to school for physical therapy, which is completely opposite of what I do now. But I started diving into marketing then at the clinics that I worked in and realized that physical therapy is not what I wanted to do. So anytime I had a marketing for that clinic kind of task, I jumped on it immediately. And after that, I realized I should probably start getting my feet a little bit wetter and going, full into marketing. And since I didn't have the education for it, I had to try to get a lot of internships. So I fought for one up in Seattle at this place called Evo, and I'll be forever grateful for them. They gave me my start essentially. And I guess I was one of 30 some applicants that was the only one that didn't have a business communications or marketing degree. And they're like, you're kind of the wild card, but we're going to go with you. And they gave me my first e-commerce marketing job.
That's awesome. And so that was your first e-commerce marketing job or your first like full-time digital marketing job? Full-time
digital marketing in e-commerce.
Okay. And what year was that?
2008. So as soon as the recession hit, and unfortunately there's some, people weren't buying skis that year. So it was a little
perfect
tough, but
time.
They kept me on board. So very grateful to them.
That's cool. And what was the best part of that job?
Oh man, it was just an awesome company to work for. They're still around. They actually have grown in the last few years, and it's just a very tight-knit community with the outdoor community. And we had a really great team, hardworking, and plus there's a lot of cool products, and we got to go demo them. So there's a lot of cool perks working there.
Okay, and I think at least for many industry folks, one of your higher visibility jobs, let's say, was at Third Door Media, which is the parent company of Search Engine Land and Marketing Land and SMX and Martech Conference and all that fun stuff. How did you get into that job, and can you just talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, and that's actually where we met.
Yes.
Way back when. So I was attending Search Marketing Expo Advanced in Seattle a number of years ago, and I was working for a pet insurance company at the time, and all the content was above my head since I was still pretty novice, but it was a really great show, and I took plenty of notes, and I was tweeting so much from there that I kind of had a little nerd out moment, but Danny Sullivan started following me from that show, and like, oh, like maybe I should go say hi to him in person, but I was a little too bashful about it. And a coworker of mine, Brent, he saw Danny walking by and was like, "Hey, Danny, this is Akvile," and I just froze. And I ended up talking to him for a while, and he said that he really liked my tweeting style and that they need a me on their team. And he put me in touch with my then boss, Kendra, and that's how I was there for about 4 years.
That's awesome. And for anybody that doesn't know, Akvile was the one behind all the, maybe not all of them, but the majority of the fabulous Instagram posts. We'd all be out at dinner, and I'd be taking a picture, and my food just looked like food. And she'd somehow angle the camera in the right direction to make it seem like it was art. So that was phenomenal. And what about that pet company you talked about, kind of in between those two jobs? What was that? What was that job like?
So that one I started after I left Evo, and that's actually when the recession hit and I needed to pay my school loans that started kicking in. So my hours got cut there, unfortunately, because of that. And I needed to, take care of some things financially. So I went looking for another job, and Trupanion, which is a pet insurance company up in Seattle, they were just about 12 people in the office at the time, and they hired me on for a 3-month internship as well. And at the end of it, I really wanted to stay there, but they didn't have a PPC person, and that's kind of really where my career with Google Ads and just everything that's happened since has begun, because they gave me their accounts and said, look at this over the weekend, and if you can come back Monday with some fresh ideas that we haven't tried before, since my manager was running at the time, and he had to do a lot of things at a startup, so he wanted to hand that off. And I came back, and he tried everything except one thing. He's like, all right, you're hired. So I got to build it up from the ground up, and they just went public a few years ago after my departure, but they're doing super well.
That's awesome. Trial by fire. Sometimes that's the best way. Fantastic. All right. And so I know that, again, back to Third Door and some of the event marketing that you've done. Is there anything specific? Because I know you had to do not only some of the event photography and updates and things like that, but just the marketing in general. Was there something that you really learned from your time there at Third Door around event marketing in general?
Tons. Everything that goes before, during, and after every single show. And we did a number of shows internationally. So there's only 2 of us on the SMX marketing team, where we did everything from email to advertising to website updates. There's just so much that went into it. And it was amazing kind of seeing behind the scenes, because I've always attended events and I've admired them. But to see how much goes on and how to seamlessly put off an event was just, it was great to be part of that process. And now that's a big passion of mine, to work in the event space.
Awesome. Absolutely. And so that's a passion of yours. Are you doing anything currently events-wise that you're able to leverage that knowledge on?
Absolutely. I work with a number of other events and conferences, and I've worked with some musicians doing some of their tours. So
cool.
Got to dabble a little bit there too.
Awesome. You're like a virtual roadie. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, hanging out with the band. That's cool. Okay, and so I know that about 4 years ago, roughly, was when you started Advertise. And
correct.
What spurred the launch of your firm?
I realized I wanted to do a little bit more. I loved working for SMX, but I had a lot of responsibilities, but I wanted more authority, and I wanted to experience working with different industries and different size brands. And that's kind of what spurred it. And I figured I'd take the leap. It was good timing. And I don't know if it was ideal timing, because I went into it without any clients. But I ended up asking a friend of mine, I don't know if you know her, but Pamela Lund from the PPC community. She has her own agency. She's been running for 10 plus years, and she's also a really good friend of mine, but I put off asking her if she can, allow me to shadow her for a day for about 9 months because I thought she'd say no. And we could talk about anything, but for some reason I just didn't have the guts to ask her. And as soon as I did, she's like, I'll do you one better. She's like, I'm trying to start a different company that's completely not marketing related. And I will give you half my clients, teach you everything I know to get you started, and you'll give me more of my time back. So I was like, all right, deal.
Wow. That might be the best answer I've ever heard.
So yeah, and never be afraid to ask a question.
Exactly. And I think especially in this industry, right? Like people are so generous with their time and with their knowledge and go out of their way. And that's just phenomenal to hear.
Yeah.
All right. And so, again, you've been on your own kind of now for those 4 years, and big thanks to Pamela on that, obviously helping you get set up. But why now? If you look at it 4 years from inception, why do people work with Advertise?
We're not the set it and forget it type. I love being in the accounts. I actually prefer managing accounts rather than people. So I'm still in the day-to-day, and I thrive in that space. And just being a part of the process as a small business owner myself, that there's a lot of things I can relate to when I work with small to medium-sized businesses. Medium-sized are kind of our good spot. But there's just something really great to be a part of the extended team when working with different clients.
Absolutely. And you've been in digital marketing and online advertising now for 10 plus years. What advice do you have for people who are out there now, might be starting, and they're looking to succeed? What would you tell them?
And time certainly flies, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I would say network. That has been the biggest gift that I've given myself and my company and people that I work with, from our clients to our team members, that just go out to events, meet people. Don't just push your products, but start building relationships, because you never know what they can turn into down the line. Like, for instance, with Pam, we were just friends. I knew she was in the industry, but there's this great gift that came from it, to where I was able to create something to call my own. And like meeting you, and now we get to do this, that I haven't had to do any advertising for my actual company to do any lead gen, because I've networked so much over the years. And I know it's been kind of unusual that I worked for a marketing conference company and had an opportunity to meet tons of people over the years. But networking has given me relationships, friendships, leads, clients, and that itself can, bring a lot of rewards.
That is awesome, because I feel like sometimes you'll look at blog recaps and say, why do I even need to go? Because I can get some information here, or I can read some tweets and kind of figure out what people are talking about, or maybe even download those slides or presentations. But, what you just talked about in that networking, especially around events, like that is something that you just can't replicate online many times.
Exactly. You never know who you'll meet.
Awesome. Okay, so what has been the biggest change that you've seen so far throughout your career in digital marketing?
There's many, every platform has its updates and algorithm changes, but I think the biggest thing is that our jobs aren't very siloed anymore. And I think as the years have gone by, everything is a part of the puzzle, and even more so. You can't just say I'm just going to do this, and that's, we don't live in a one-click, one-conversion type of world anymore, where everything in the marketing department works together. You can't really find success unless you're doing both paid social and paid search, because they go hand in hand, and SEO and then lead gen to email marketing. I think that's just important to diversify as a marketer, and you can still specialize in a certain thing, but just know enough to be dangerous about how everything works together, and stay up to date on the different changes that are happening, because, you can't just do one little thing. There's a whole big world out there that we can use to optimize our client campaigns with.
That is a great answer. I love that answer. I'm going to save that and just give it to everybody that we hire. I love it. I love it. That's phenomenal. All right. And I think just in general, when you're talking about a lot of the paid social, that I think is why many people know you, and you come to mind when people are talking about paid social. So much so that you recently launched the new ebook, Small Business Guide to Facebook Ads. And so why did you write the book? And who is this book really for? Who would get value from this book?
Excellent question. We just moved to an area of Central California called Paso Robles, and it's a smaller town. We lived in LA, Seattle. We're from New York State, my husband and I, and we've lived in areas that had a lot more everything. And we moved to a smaller area where there's tons of opportunity here, a lot of small businesses, but they're not ready to hire some staff or a consultant or an agency. And I found myself over the last 2 years since moving here that talking to all these business owners that they needed help, but at the same time, they were a bit too small to take on as a client. So I realized there's a need for it. And while you can find all that information for free on the web, Facebook's Help Center isn't the most helpful, which it should be. But even as marketers, we have to go digging through there. And if you don't know what you're looking for, that makes that challenge much bigger. So I decided to create a step-by-step Facebook Ads 101, if you want to call it, type of ebook, and to kind of help small business owners. But I didn't realize that some marketers would be interested as well, because somebody tweeted out that they were getting it. And I said, thank you. Like, I hope you enjoyed the book. However, there's another Facebook ads agency owner. And I said, given your expertise level, and it might be a little bit too novice for you. And he had a really good point that said that, sometimes we need to be reminded about the basics, because as marketers, we're always looking to advance or certain tactics or just do tools. But oftentimes we might neglect some of the more basic things, and it could be a good refresher. So whether you're an entrepreneur, a small business owner, or even an experienced marketer, check it out just to kind of review some of the basics.
Yeah, absolutely. And it brings me back to your answer that you gave previously as well, to say, you need to know enough in today's digital marketing environment to be dangerous with everything, Mm-hmm. And so that to me was one thing that I really enjoyed when I read the book, is the fact that it isn't like Facebook help guides. You've got detailed images of how everything should work, and it kind of takes that fear out of Facebook ads for the small business owner. But at the same time, again, you can see how powerful this can be if, say, all I know now is just, regular old PPC or something like that. So I think it's great in the fact that, yeah, it could be used for anybody really. But I appreciate the fact that I can give this as a recommendation for some of those folks that some agencies just can't help. Not everybody should be hiring an agency. So I think this is a fantastic book for that. And where could people find this book as well?
You can find it on Amazon, or a little bit quicker so you don't have to go searching for it. You can go to advertise.com/ebook, and we have it right there on our site.
Awesome. Okay. And I know that recently I've seen you popping up speaking at more and more shows, HeroConf, PubCon Pro. Where are you? Do you have anything lined up for the coming year?
I do. I will be speaking at at PubCon first in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, March 5th through 7th. And after that, you can find me in April. I believe it's the 23rd through 24th at HeroConf in Philadelphia. Awesome.
Okay. And then that brings us to this week's lightning round. Are you ready? Yes. Okay. So what, in your mind, you only can choose one digital ad platform today. What is that platform and why?
Facebook still wins. Best bang for the buck, best targeting.
All right. Succinct. I like it. Is there a book or a blog post or a site that has had the biggest impact on your career?
Early on in my career, before I started working there, I'd have to say Search Engine Land and also Marketing Land, the sister site. But now I check a lot of other sites, like John Loomer has a really great one, Social Media Examiner, and a lot of different agency blogs are really putting out great content.
Okay. Any agencies specifically?
Cypress North, of course.
Oh, let's get a real answer here.
Also, a huge fan of Aim Clear. Gosh, what else? Oh, Clicks. They do really great content. Also, some other industry blogs, like SEM Rush has a great one. Co-marketing, if you're into B2B content or have clients there. And I also check HubSpot's blog quite a bit.
Awesome. And any of those notes that Akvile has talked about will be in our show notes today. And then if you have anything else you want to send over, check them out. We'll put them all in the show notes as well. And Where do you find your digital marketing inspiration?
Ooh, I check out what big brands are doing because oftentimes they have the resources, the staff, the time, especially the budget. So if I have a client in a similar industry or even a different one, I take a look at what they're doing and what I like and what I don't like and see how I can apply that to clients.
Awesome. Awesome. And what was your biggest mistake throughout your digital marketing career?
I don't know if I want to call it a mistake. I did for some time, but I regret not working at an agency myself before starting my own. I always wanted to be in-house and be like the PPC person, but I think I did myself a disservice by not working at an agency because, I'd go back and do that if I could.
Awesome. And in your opinion, what is the most important factor for a successful digital marketing agency?
Networking. Just be human. Treat your clients, treat leads, every person that you interact with professionally, but also be personable and just be genuine. If you can't help, send them some resources or somebody else that might be interested, available, and maybe more experience with it. And if you can take them on, then do so.
Awesome. Okay, and that ends our lightning round today, but I have one more question that came from the lightning round, so we're throwing it in here at the end. And you had mentioned the fact that you would like to be at an agency before, and I always like to get the perspective of somebody that's been in-house on a project and then also had that kind of agency experience. I think it's really, really different and interesting to hear that perspective. So what was something that what do you think some of the main differences are when you're looking at in-house, versus agency work?
The obvious one is that you're focusing on one brand instead of numerous. But early on when I started launching my own agency, I think that I had to really come up to speed on how to manage different clients and effectively and how to schedule certain things during the week so that everybody got equal amount of attention and everybody's campaigns are taken care of, where when you're working in-house, you have to focus on just one, but you have to be good. I want to say multitasking, but at the same time, I've been really trying to scale back from multitasking and focusing one task at a time. But I think long story long is just time management and organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, the book can be purchased on Amazon.com, or what was that fancy link that you had for me?
Advertise.com/ebook.
All right, advertise.com/ebook. Check that out. Where else can people find you if they want to tag along on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that?
You can find me on both, though I am much more active on Twitter at Akvile Defazio, where, my name is a little complicated, but as you said, show notes.
Show notes in the show notes below. And again, that's advertise.com. Akvile, thank you so much for coming on, and you are officially back on the clock. I think that's how it works. So thanks again, and we'll see you all next week.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg.
Bye.